I tell you about how an Ancestry DNA kit is putting my grandma in prison. And I get a phone call, and it's a detective from the Michigan State Police. And he was like, and your DNA is a direct match to the victim of this case. I was like, what case? And he was like, you've heard of the Baby Garnet case, right? And I was like,
Before we get started, I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor today, Sherrilyn. With all the travel that I have planned coming up in this next new year, I was so excited to learn about this app. If you've never heard of Sherrilyn before, it is a new eSIM service app brought to you by Nord Security, a longtime supporter of the channel. Through their new app, Sherrilyn, you can now choose from several affordable eSIM plans in over 160 countries and 8 regions. Meaning with a Sherrilyn eSIM, you always have a connection when you need during your travels. If you've ever traveled before, you probably understand how unsettling it is when you don't have Wi-Fi and what a difference a local SIM card can make. An eSIM provides you an interconnection wherever you are traveling and also saves you on roaming fees. The beauty of Sherrilyn is that you only have to download it once, eliminating the need to install it each time you travel. Those who travel get it. Roaming fees are the absolute worst, and as much as I try to avoid them by just keeping my phone on airplane mode, we all know that there's just going to be a moment throughout the day where we're like, oh my god, I gotta switch it off and I've gotta just eat the roaming fee. And it pretty much happens every single day. Like, I'm always having to turn off at one point, and once you turn it on, you're paying for the day. They have several types of plans that you can choose from. They have global plans, so if you're planning on traveling to several different countries, or you can just do a regional plan and then travel with the same e-plan. All Sherrilyn e-plans are compatible with iOS and Android. They also have 24/7 chat support, and for whatever reason your device is not eSIM compatible, they provide a full money refund. I cannot tell you how excited I was to pre-install this app to already prepare for my upcoming trip in January, and just have like that one thing just like ticked off. It's like, once you land, I can connect to the local network. If you want to check them out, they are offering my supporters a 15% off exclusive discount on Sherrilyn data plans. You can head on over to sherrilyndale.com/sherrilyndale and use my code sherrilyndale to get 15% off your first purchase. Once again, that's sherrilyndale.com/sherrilyndale and use my code sherrilyndale for 15% off your first purchase. Thank you again so much, Sherrilyn, for supporting and sponsoring today's video. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. I am Sherrilyn and I'm so glad you found me. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for joining me every single upload. I love and I appreciate you so much. Today we're talking about something that I just really need to talk to somebody about. I know that I've stepped away from true crime, but this brought me back specifically because we get to hear from the person that is like one of the people that is, found herself pretty involved, because it was because of her that this case blew wide open. Okay. So let's talk about it. I'm scrolling TikTok. I come across a girl who is like, get ready with me while I tell you how my Ancestry DNA sent my grandma to jail. And I'm like, that's a hook, girl. I'm listening. All right, so her name is Jenna Rose, and we are going to go along this journey together.
get ready with me while I tell you about how an Ancestry DNA kit is putting my grandma in prison. So in case you couldn't tell, I've never made a video like this before. I've already tried to record this a couple times, and I keep stumbling over my words. This video might take...
Just for anybody who, she'll say it in a minute, but is like, oh, she was laughing. Like, seemed very joyful about sending her grandma to prison. She doesn't know her. Like, I believe she's going to say that she's never met her grandma. Doesn't get into why, but also, like, kind of alludes that, like, her mother, Jenna's mother, so the grandmother that went to jail, her mom's mom, confusing myself, she didn't want to, like, speak for her mom and say, like, why, but obviously there's a reason why she had never met her. So there's, like, you know, like, that attachment isn't there. Because I was wondering at first too, I was just like, oh my God, I just think of my grandma, right? I think that's what we do. We'll let her continue.
A few minutes to get through because it is quite a long story, and I don't want to split it up into separate parts like everybody does. So just bear with me. So I'm going to start with a little bit of the backstory. So I've never met my grandmother. I didn't even know her name until I was like 14 or 15 years old. And for reasons that are not my business to tell, when my mother's ready to tell that story, then that's on her. But I've never met my grandmother. So just keep that in mind. The other little part of the backstory that I feel like people should know is that this case was very popular in the town that I grew up in, because it was so up. It was the Baby Garnet case, and I know a lot of people are curious. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about what the happened.
We'll get into that after she shares everything. So if you're also curious, because I didn't know, we'll talk about it.
Especially in my hometown, so I'm here to start talking about it. Obviously I can't talk about everything, but I can tell you my story. Let's get into it. So, go back about 2 years ago, I watched my best friend get an Ancestry DNA kit for Christmas, and I thought it was dope. I was like, I need one of those. I want to see all the cool shit that she's seeing right now, so I bought one. It's literally, you spit in a tube, you swab your mouth, you send it in, and they give you your Ancestry results. It's actually really cool. And I had a blast doing it. Little did I know. So I sent it in, got my results back. Everything was cool and fine. So then about a year later, I'm at work, and I get a phone call, and it's a detective from the Michigan State Police out of St. Ignace. And I was like, excuse me. I was like, what the fuck did I do? So I start freaking out. I was like, okay.
Can you imagine?
I'm either about to really go to jail or somebody is dead. So I start freaking out. And he was like, I just want to let you know that I reopened a cold case from like 25 years ago. And he was like, and your DNA is a direct match to the victim of this case. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, what case? And he was like, you've heard of the Baby Garnet case, right? And I was like, I was like, you're joking, right? And he was like, no. He was like, I know that it's shocking. He was like, and I know that it's, you know, a weekday at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And I kind of just sprung this on you. He was like, but we've been investigating and your DNA matches. And I was like, okay. So I start talking to this dude, and he like proceeds to tell me that he wants to connect me with this lady from Chicago. He said that she like runs this worldwide database, and he wants me to talk to her so she can upload my DNA into this worldwide database to like broaden the search, I guess. So I okayed it, and he told me that he would give her my number and she'd call me after I got off work. So I get home from work, and I'm telling my mom about this call. I was like, listen, like, this is up. Like, listen to this. And she was like, I wouldn't, like, listen to that. She was like, Papa just got a phone call saying that Uncle Marcus is dead, and that they needed, like, his social security number or something like that to confirm that it was, like, he was his father. And he was not dead.
So this is interesting because I feel like I also, like, as her mom probably would have been the same, because I just hear about like so many scams and stuff like that where it's like, oh, and we're gonna, like, someone else is gonna call you and then you're gonna upload this. We've had like directly, like, my husband had somebody who claimed to be like a police officer like call him and be like, this, like, there's fraudulent activity going on in your account, like, we need you to do this, and this. And Brent's like, what the heck is going on? And then, you know, finally was just like, actually what he did was he had been driving at the time. And I feel like that could have been number one, because usually, like, police officers would be like, oh, don't, you know, drive, like, just, like, pull over or, you know, come and see us or whatever. And then this person's, like, directing him, like, where to go, and then wanted him to go to, like, a specific bank. And he's like, this is weird. So he drives to, like, the nearest police station while he's got this, like, scammer on the phone, and then gives the phone to the police officer, and the police officer was like, sorry, what was your, like, badge number again? And then he, like, gives it, and he's like, well, this is so and so from whichever police department. And then the guy hung up, but then had the nerve to like call back 2 minutes later while Brent was still there talking to them. And then the officer answered again. I was like, they are so brazen. Anyway, they did stop after that. But the officer was telling Brent like how many people this has happened to, especially like elderly people. And also like part of some of the scams is saying things like that, like your grandson or something is in trouble and they need you to like, I need you to like wire this, or even saying that they are the relative being like, I need help. This is like my situation. And then the people are just panicking because you don't want to question something if your loved one actually needs help. So this just like happened to, she must have like, just like this happened. And then this happened with her daughter. And she's like, no way. Like, because it does sound like too weird to be true.
Like, it was a scam, but freaked my grandpa out. And so my mom was like, don't, like, it could be a scam, you know? So this lady calls me, and I'm on the phone with her, and she's like, I just need, like, your permission. And I was like, you have my permission, girl. I was like, whatever you need me to do, like, I'll do it. And she was like, okay, I need your password. And I was like, who's gonna ask me for my password that's not a scammer, you know? And so I hung up the phone. So like a week later,
she hangs up on her, but I probably would have done the same thing if I heard about the password, because that's one thing like you always hear from the bank or anything. It's like, we would never provide this password. Don't give this password to somebody. They got to come up with a better system.
And she was like, hey, she was like, you need to come home right now. And I was like, I'm at work. I can't just leave. And she was like, yeah, you can. She was like, it's an emergency. Like, you need to come home right now. So I was like, all right, whatever. So thank God my manager was understanding. She ended up letting me leave. And it was just crazy. I ended up getting home, and one of my cousins were there. And she was like, you know that phone call you got? And I was like, how the f*** do you know about that? And she was like, because there was state police at my door this morning. And I was like, okay. She was like, it's not a scam. Like, I've been in contact with them all morning. Like, you really do need to call that lady back. Because they need your DNA. Okay. So I called her back. We uploaded my DNA into this worldwide database. And it comes back as a distant relative. So they were like, are we able to speak with your mom? And I was like, actually, she's sitting right here. So they spoke with my mother. They asked for her permission to take her DNA. So they ended up meeting up with her the next day, taking her DNA, and ended up, obviously, running it through the same database that they ran mine through, and ended up finding out that it's not a distant relative to my mom, but a direct relative. And the only other people that it could have been was my mom's mother. They kind of started doing their own investigating and figured out that that's who it was. So we were mind blown. Mind you, I've never met this woman before. She is literally the person that they've been looking for 25 years. And it's all because of an Ancestry DNA kit. So yeah, everything kind of unfolded from there. I'm not really allowed to talk about anything that has happened outside of that right now, but obviously it's going to come out. Shit has already been in the news.
So if you're like me, I hadn't heard about the baby Garnett case, and I didn't know if like maybe it was just because, not just because I'm not from the area. I seems to be like pretty well known, but if you've been here like since my true crime content, the one thing that I like struggle so much with is anything that involves children. So this, I understand why in Michigan this is been on people's minds for so long. This is like happened in 1997. So I went to look at a little bit of background from the case, and then I came up, I found this Michigan Department of Attorney General like statement on this. The statement here says, former Upper Peninsula woman to stand trial for 1997 murder of baby Garnett. So this is from Lansing. On Friday, May 10th, the Honorable Beth Ann Gibson of the 92nd District Court in St. Inez issued an opinion and order binding over Nancy Grotowski, who's 60 years old, formerly of Newberry, to stand trial for the cold case murder of an infant discovered 27 years ago. She is charged with 1 count each of open murder, involuntary manslaughter, and concealing the death of an individual. Open murder is a potential life sentence offense. So then it gives a little bit of background. It says, in June of 1997, the remains of a deceased infant were discovered in a campground pit toilet, so like an outhouse, at the Garnett Lake Campground in Upper Peninsula, Hudson Township. An autopsy at the time determined the decedent to have been a term or near-term infant of gestational age of 36 to 42 weeks. So it's pretty, had almost all 3 of my children at 36 weeks, 36, 37, 36. The Mackinac County Sheriff's Office and Michigan State Police investigated the death throughout the summer and autumn of 1997, though no witnesses or viable leads were developed. The deceased came to be known as Baby Garnett. In 2017, investigative efforts were renewed when a Michigan State Police detective sergeant initiated familial genetic genealogy tracing with the assistance of a private laboratory and the Federal Bureau of Investigations, who by this time possessed skeletal remains of Baby Garnett. A lab received remains to test in 2020, and in 2022, a DNA profile was developed and returned indicating a specific familial lineage. So that was the granddaughter. Can you imagine? And like for them, again, I know like so many people behind the scenes are, wonder what happens with some of these cases, but as DNA and further advancements in technologies just like continue to advance, people are looking into the cases in their area and, hoping like maybe something like this is going to happen. And it's crazy that so many cold cases are being solved because of things like Ancestry or like 23andMe, where it's just like some granddaughter and the grandmother hasn't even met her, and she's just wanting to submit her DNA and find out all the cool things that her friend's finding out. And then this is happening because they've already got the system like ready to go. These results led investigators to Nancy Grotowski, then living in Pinedale, Wyoming, and additional DNA testing of Grotowski obtained via a search warrant confirmed her parentage. So obviously when she was in custody, it was like, okay, or, question, we're going to take a swab, and then that was it. The state alleged Grotowski delivered the newborn alone at her Newberry home, during which, this is so sad, Baby Garnett died due to asphyxiation, and that this death could have been prevented by medical intervention Grotowski did not seek. She then allegedly concealed the deceased newborn in an outhouse at the campground in Hudson, more than 20 miles out of town. Thanks to the incredible efforts of investigators across 3 decades, we are finally able to pursue justice for Baby Garnett more than 25 years after her tragic death. In 1997, genetic testing was nowhere near as sophisticated as it is today, and I am grateful for the work of detectives and responders on scene to preserve vital evidence in this matter. Prosecutors in my office are able to bring about this long-delayed criminal trial because of 27 years of sound police work, scientific advancement, evidence preservation, and diligent state and local detectives who never gave up on justice for this infant victim. And that was, so I had a lot of questions. So I went to TikTok, as one does, to see if anybody had some answers, because I didn't know much about the case, right? And like where this campground was, what was the background information. And gosh darn it, I found an angel here. Her name is Miss Shelly. It seems like, I've never heard of her, but it seems like she does kind of like true crime recaps on TikTok and definitely does her research. So if you guys are kind of like missing more of that from me, she's adorable from what I can see. This is the first video, but she does some research here and kind of lays this out for us. So again, let's watch it together and see what Shelly has to say.
I saw the video. Enough of you guys tagged me, so let's talk about it. Garnett Lake Campground. It's in Michigan. It's a very small area that offers campsites. People go there to camp and do other outdoor activities. Garnett in itself is very small. It had an unofficial population of about 60 people. The campsite had been closed for 2 years, and in the summer of 1997, they decided they wanted to reopen it. June 26th of 1997, while getting ready to reopen the place, the person responsible for cleaning out the outhouses made a horrific discovery. An outhouse is basically a single little outdoor building that contains a toilet, kind of just like a porta potty. In that campsite, the outhouses were set away from the lake behind a small hill next to an open field. When cleaning them out, they were using a machine to suction the waste out, and when the suction stopped, they thought that it was clogged. But after taking a closer look, they realized that what was clogging the suction machine was the body of an infant. 911 was immediately called. The body was taken. The autopsy revealed that the infant was between 38 to 40 weeks old, full term, and pretty much a newborn. She was a girl. The umbilical cord was not found. The autopsy did not reveal if she was born alive or stillborn. They also had no idea what the cause of death was if she was born alive. However, they were treating this as a homicide. With the only information they had then, they estimated that she was left there as early as June 1st of 1997, and it makes me sick to my stomach to think that there is a good chance that she could have never been found if they had not decided to reopen that camp and decided to clean and pump out those tanks.
I thought about all of this too, is like, first of all, the thought of just like disposing your baby in an outhouse. Like I can hardly go in an outhouse if needed camping just because of, you know, it being an outhouse. Oh my God. And then just like, and even like for my kids, like I'll be like, do any other option. Like I'll just take a hole because I like get scared that they're going to fall through. It's just, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's keep going.
Small community in the area is who gave her the name Baby Garnett. As time went on, any leads they had led to nothing, and the case was looking like there would be no answers. With the little information that they did have, detectives assumed that the mother they were looking for was someone with unexplained weight gain over the past few months, and especially unexplained weight loss during the past month. Maybe someone who changed their clothing attire to wearing only baggy clothing since April, and they assumed that the pregnancy began of September 1996. Because of how remote the area was, investigators had very high beliefs that the mother was a local resident, or at the very least knew someone local, but local residents did not think that it was someone local because the community was so close, everyone there knew everyone, and everyone was so kind and friendly. A local waitress said, quote, "It's not something you really think of as happening in Garnett, like that girl on TV at the prom and her baby. Something like that would happen in a big city downstate somewhere, not in a small town upper Michigan." Even though absolutely no one knew anything about the baby, she was buried. The community gave her a grave with the name Baby Girl Garnett because they said they wanted to give her at least a shred of identity that she never got to have. She was buried less than a mile down the road from the campground. Law enforcement stated, quote, "We want to put the baby to rest, give her some sort of ceremony, and maybe someone will show up at the ceremony. Someone will either feel bad and come to us or know something about what happened," but no one ever did. In 2017, a new county sheriff named Ed Wilk wanted to review the case again, but they still didn't really have much to go off. However, by 2022, there was an entirely new technology system, new possibilities, new resources. An officer from that county had read an article about a case from a different state, a case that was previously a cold case, but they were able to solve it using this new technology, specifically using forensic genealogy. Forensic genealogy is described as a law enforcement technique that uses DNA analysis and genealogical research to identify suspects or victims in criminal cases. Seeing that case being solved made them want to solve the case of Baby Garnett, or at least try to. In enters Colleen Fitzpatrick. She's an American forensic scientist, and her company, Identifiers International, is an investigative genetic genealogy that helps identify victims and perpetrators of violent crimes. They basically use DNA to find a family tree and try to narrow it down as much as they can to help them solve cold cases. Colleen and her team speak to law enforcement. They try to gather as much information as they can. They connect with anyone who may be of help in the case. They get their DNA, send it to a lab, get the results. They upload the results to a system called GEDmatch to see the family tree DNA. That process is what the girl is talking about in her video. She helped solve this case because her giving her DNA led law enforcement to be able to identify Baby Garnett's mother, 60-year-old 19-year-old Nancy Ann Gerwatowski. She was living in Wyoming. She was immediately arrested and brought back to Michigan. Nancy was charged with open murder, involuntary manslaughter, and concealing the death of an individual. Investigators believe that she gave birth alone in her house where baby Garnett passed away due to asphyxiation. They believe that the death could have been prevented by medical help if Nancy just tried to get medical help. But instead, they believe that she allegedly hid the body in an outhouse at the campground more than 20 miles away from her house. According to court records, a hearing is scheduled to happen on December 12th of this year, 2024. We don't know what's going to happen yet. I read that Nancy is currently out on bond, but she does have a GPS tracker. They were able to find the father as well, but from what I read, it sounds like he did not know anything about the pregnancy, and he is also being considered a victim in this case. This is a quote from law enforcement after their findings. Quote, "Thanks to the incredible efforts of investigators across 3 decades, we are finally able to pursue justice for baby Garnett more than 25 years."
All right, and then so we read that statement too. Again, great job, Shelly. Love it so much, especially when like researching baby stuff, you know. Anyway, so yeah, December 12th, she is expected to go to trial. I'm extremely curious how this is going to unfold, specifically with having like the granddaughter who's like never met her and it being her DNA. I don't know if like she would be potentially like called as a witness, like to like share any of that, or I mean, I guess we also don't know like how Nancy, like the mother slash Jenna's grandmother, is you know, gonna react. Maybe court's gonna come and she's just going to kind of like admit what happened, or maybe her defense is gonna like try to, you know, explain that she was hiding it because of, I don't know, could be a laundry list of reasons. I feel like if this is what, 20, almost 30 years ago, like I feel like that would have, am I special? Like, no, like she would have been old, you know, like old enough to have a baby. Like sometimes you hear about younger, like children or like, you know, teens having a concealed pregnancy for, you know, a number of reasons, thinking that they're going to get in trouble, scared, whatever. And then, you know, something horrible happening, or even, you know, then only like their family and loved ones find out at the hospital when they deliver and they're like, oh my gosh, like, why didn't we know? But it says she's 60, so 30 years ago she would have been 30, right? Why am I literally second guessing the math that much? Anyways, obviously there's so many unanswered questions. Like Jenna's saying too, she can't really talk about it. And so I'm wondering if like maybe that's also why, like because there will be like some form of involvement with her in the trial to talk about like what happened. It's fascinating how much we have evolved, like with DNA and technology being able to solve cases like this. And it has to be like inspiring, encouraging for detectives to, because in a lot of these cases, I mean, after 30 years, it's actually like new people who are coming onto the case or looking at it from, you know, other detectives coming on, looking at it from fresh eyes, and then being able to see what is happening in the cases that are getting solved because of this. So I personally love it. I know that in like the early days of Ancestry, people are like, don't do it. You're like, your DNA is going to be submitted. And it's like, but if you've done nothing, like this is great because yeah, we can help people who have had no answers and provide justice to a little tiny baby who has not been named. Oh my God, it breaks my heart. I just want to cry, like thinking about the whole community, like having that grave there and having so many questions and what that must feel like for a community, because you do kind of like take that on, like more personally, being like, this happened here. What the heck happened? Who is this baby? This poor baby. Let's figure out what the heck's happening. So I'm sure that they're all kind of feeling a little bit of, you know, like starting that like healing and closure, because I know I personally would feel like that even if I didn't know the child too, like, and it was just part of my community. But anyways, I'm curious to see how this unfolds. This will be, you know, transpiring in the next few days here in December 12th. That's actual, oh my gosh, I just realized that's actually my first niece. Like, I mean, I have like nieces and nephews, like honorary nieces and nephews, but like official niece, her due date. So, oh my God, now I'm gonna cry. Okay. I had something else to say. Hold on.
Hi guys. I just wanted to come on here and continue to say thank you. The amount of love and followers and support and just amazing things that people have said to me and my mother are amazing, and it does not go unnoticed. We appreciate it so much. With that being said, I would like to tell you guys that there is so much to our story that we want to tell you, but we want to do it the right way. We have decided to take a documentary approach to this, and we have decided to meet with producers. We are hoping that one day this will be a documentary that people can watch. So we're working on that for people. We do want our story to be told. We want people to follow along, as you are, and we are so grateful for that. I also just wanted to say that I posted that video for the people in my hometown. We never expected it to get this big. So just bear with us, give us some time. Thank you.
So yeah, you never know what doing something like that will change. And no one's ever going to think about oh, me just getting my ancestry, this is going to crack a case wide open and give closure. But when we were at CrimeCon this year in Nashville, they had, I want to say it was literally the people that work for GEDmatch. Probably not. I'm probably just making that up. But it was a well-established DNA database that I think they do send it to GEDmatch. And so people were just people that were going to CrimeCon and exhibitors and guests that were coming to watch and meet everybody, they were able to swab and submit their stuff to the database, which is so crazy. And again, I could completely be talking out of my butt. No, I'm not, because I do remember. This is why I knew that they were there. There was something either at another convention. I don't think it was there because I feel like it would have been too close. I don't know enough about DNA, but the timeline would have been too close. But when I was speaking with one of the ladies that was volunteering and helping take swabs of people, they had said that somebody who had submitted was kind of the same thing. It was familial lineage that they were going to be able to go back and look at, which is is crazy. You just go to something like that, so I don't know. I'd love to actually hear your guys' opinions, even if it's different than mine, why you would or wouldn't want to submit DNA, with the thought in your head of maybe this kind of happening, I don't know. Anyways, that is it for me today, you guys. I will keep you posted as things happen after trial. Obviously, no one on either side, I think, is going to really say much more at this point. But go follow along with Jenna. She did say in a follow-up TikTok that she's, definitely appreciating all of the support and the eyes and the attention on this just because of this type of thing, kind of encouraging people, go out, do it. You never know what's going to happen. So go and follow along with her, because obviously she's going to have the most accurate and up-to-date information that she's able to provide. But yeah, that's it for me today, you guys. For all of my US friends and followers, family, my supporters, I hope you guys are going to have a wonderful Thanksgiving. That's this week for you. Us in Canada, we already celebrated it in October. So, but I feel I told Chelsea, I was I feel I'm kind of an honorary US citizen now. So maybe I'm gonna whip up a turkey. I just need any excuse to have turkey, ham, stuffing, the works. So I think I'm just gonna use it and also celebrate with you guys. Okay, I just want to eat, you guys. All right, I'll see you in the next video. I will miss you terribly. Until then, make sure to love each other, love yourself, and I will see you soon. Mwah. Bye.